The announcement, the glass walls of the boardroom gleamed in the morning light, overlooking the skyline of Chicago. Inside, the air was heavy with expectation. The long mahogany table stretched between the company's senior board members, who sat silently, hands folded, waiting for the verdict that would define the company's future. At the head of the table sat Robert and Elaine Carter, founders of Carter Enterprises, a multi-million-dollar logistics empire. Beside them, two men sat, brothers, but tonight they were rivals. Michael Carter, the elder son at 35, wore a sharp navy suit. His eyes carried the weight of sleepless nights, of contracts negotiated and crises managed. His entire adult life had been poured into this company. Opposite him sat Daniel Carter, 32, charming and stylish, with a confident smirk. Daniel had the polished charisma of a man who never had to break a sweat to get what he wanted. Robert cleared his throat, adjusting his glasses. After long discussions, he began. Your mother and I have decided who will step into the role of CEO. This company needs fresh leadership, bold innovation, and the ability to take risks. Michael's heart pounded. He had earned this. He was the company. His mind replayed the sacrifices, missed birthdays, ruined relationships, and countless nights alone in his office, chasing deadlines while Daniel partied. Elaine reached over, placing her hand on Robert's. She smiled warmly at Daniel. Your father and I have decided that Daniel will be the new CEO of Carter Enterprises. The room froze for a moment. Michael thought he had misheard. He blinked, staring at his parents, then at the smug smile spreading across Daniel's face. Daniel leaned back in his chair. Well, he said smoothly, I suppose I won't let you down. Michael's hands clenched under the table. He forced a laugh, sharp and bitter. Are you serious, Daniel? The man who hasn't closed a single deal in his life. The man who missed 3 board meetings this quarter because he was in Vegas? Enough, Michael, Robert snapped. This isn't about your personal grievances. Daniel represents the future. You're reliable, yes, but the company needs a vision that looks forward, not backward. Michael's voice dropped, quiet but cutting. Reliable? That's what you call 15 years of building this company brick by brick? Of saving it when contracts almost slipped? Of bringing in the very clients that keep these lights on? Elaine's tone softened, but her words were no less cruel. You've done enough, Michael. You'll always have a place here. But leadership is about charisma, about inspiring others. Daniel has that gift. Michael rose slowly from his chair, his jaw tight. He looked at Daniel, then back at his parents. Charisma doesn't keep a company alive. Hard work does. And when this falls apart, don't say I didn't warn you. The room fell silent as Michael picked up his folder and walked out. Behind him, Daniel chuckled, twirling the company pen between his fingers. Guess some people just don't know when their time is up. The door slammed shut. Michael didn't look back. The silent rage the elevator doors slid shut behind Michael, muting the voices from the boardroom. He stood there motionless, his reflection staring back at him in the polished steel. His jaw was locked, his fists tight at his sides. When the doors opened, the bustling lobby of Carter Enterprises greeted him, employees rushing past with files, the receptionist answering phones, interns balancing coffee trays. None of them knew the storm raging inside him. He walked toward the exit, but every step felt heavier. Memories crowded his mind. The first year of the company, when payroll nearly collapsed, and he maxed out his own credit card to cover salaries. The nights he slept on the office couch while Daniel sent selfies from beach resorts. The countless hours spent wooing clients who now filled the company's contracts. Michael stepped outside into the sharp Chicago air. He loosened his tie, trying to breathe. Michael. He turned. Karen Liu, the company's CFO and one of the few people who knew his worth, hurried after him. Her dark hair was pulled into a no-nonsense bun, her eyes sharp with worry. Tell me that didn't just happen, she said, breathless. Michael gave a humorless laugh. Oh, it happened. Daniel Carter, our new CEO. Karen's expression hardened. That's a mistake. A massive mistake. They don't see it. Michael's voice was low, bitter. To them, I'm dependable but replaceable. Daniel's shiny enough to blind them. Karen placed a hand on his arm. Don't walk out, Michael. The company needs you. Without you, this place will fall apart. For a moment, Michael almost softened. But then he pictured his parents' faces, the way they dismissed him like an old employee past his prime. He shook his head. I gave them my loyalty. 15 years. And they chose him. Karen's grip tightened. Then make them regret it. Michael looked at her, eyes dark with unspoken resolve. Oh, they will. He walked away, leaving Karen standing in the cold. His footsteps echoed down the busy street, but in his chest burned something hotter than betrayal, something sharper than pain. It was rage. Silent, focused rage, and he would turn it into power. The favoritism. The next morning, the boardroom was buzzing. Daniel sat at the head of the table now, his tailored gray suit and smug smile announcing to everyone that he was the new king. His parents flanked him, proud and glowing. While the rest of the directors shifted uneasily in their seats, Karen sat quietly, her pen tapping against her notepad. She kept stealing glances at the empty chair, Michael's chair. The absence felt heavier than the presence of everyone else combined. Daniel cleared his throat. So, he began, leaning back with a confidence that wasn't earned. As your new CEO, I'll be making some changes around here. We're done with old-fashioned deals and dragging negotiations. It's time we go big. Fast. A few directors exchanged nervous looks. One of them, Mr. Fletcher, an older board member, raised his hand. Daniel, with all due respect, your brother was negotiating a $600,000 government logistics contract. That deal was delicate, and Michael had built trust with the officials for months. What's your plan to continue it? Daniel smirked. Trust me, Fletcher, government people love charm. I'll take them golfing. They'll sign. Laughter rippled weakly around the table, but it was forced. Karen's pen stopped tapping. She knew Daniel had no idea what he was walking into. Elaine beamed proudly at her younger son. That's exactly the energy this company needs. Enough of Michael's cautious ways. We need bold moves. Karen bit her tongue, but the thought screamed in her mind. Cautious? Michael saved this company from bankruptcy twice. He pulled in more contracts than all of you combined. And you call that cautious? Daniel waved his hand. As for my brother, well, he had his time. It's a new era now. The words cut like a blade to those who knew better. But Robert and Elaine clapped as if Daniel had just delivered a victory speech. Karen couldn't take it anymore. She closed her notebook with a snap. You're celebrating charisma while ignoring competence. Without Michael, this company is already weaker. The room went silent. Daniel leaned forward, his smile tight. Careful, Karen. Loyalty matters. And loyalty means supporting your CEO. Karen met his gaze without flinching. Loyalty should be earned, Daniel. Not handed out because your parents decided you're prettier for the spotlight. Gasps echoed around the table. Robert's face reddened. That's enough, Karen. We've made our decision. Daniel is CEO. Either you stand with him or what? Karen interrupted, her voice steady. You'll lose me too? The silence stretched until Daniel chuckled, breaking the tension. Relax, Karen. I'll prove myself. Just wait. Karen gathered her things, shooting him one last look. I'll wait. But when this empire starts to crumble, don't say I didn't warn you. She left the boardroom, her heels clicking like gunshots against the marble floor. Daniel turned to his parents with a grin. She'll come around. They all will. But deep down, a shadow of doubt flickered in his eyes, because for the first time in his life, Daniel had no one to clean up his mess. The walk away. Michael sat alone in his apartment that night, the city lights painting streaks across the floor. The silence pressed in on him, heavy and suffocating. His phone buzzed with messages, board members, employees, even old clients, but he ignored them all. He stared at the framed photo on his desk. It was from 10 years ago, taken at the company's first warehouse opening. He stood beside his parents, sweat-stained from unloading crates himself, his smile wide with pride. Back then, Daniel hadn't even shown up. Now Daniel was CEO. Michael's chest tightened with something bitter. Not just betrayal, something deeper. It felt like erasure. As if the blood, sweat, and sleepless nights meant nothing, a sharp knock at the door broke the silence. He hesitated, then opened it. Karen stood there, still in her work clothes, exhaustion shadowing her face. "Michael," she said softly, "you can't just disappear. They need you." Michael stepped aside to let her in.
No.
"They don't. They made that clear." She dropped her bag on the couch. "Daniel doesn't know what he's doing. He's already making promises he can't keep. If you walk away, this company won't survive." Michael poured himself a glass of whiskey and sank into a chair. Then let it burn. Karen sat across from him, her voice breaking. "But it's your life's work. Don't let them hand it to him on a silver platter." He looked at her, eyes hard. "Karen, I built that company for them, for my family, and they chose him. If that's the game they want to play, then I'm out." His phone buzzed again. This time, it was Daniel. Michael read the message aloud with a humorless laugh. "Big day tomorrow. My first meeting as CEO with the state officials. Thought I'd let you know since you always like to be in the loop." Winky face, Michael's knuckles whitened around the glass. He set it down slowly, deliberately, then typed back a single line. "Congratulations. You're on your own now." Karen's breath caught. "Michael," but he cut her off, standing tall, his voice steady. "I've given everything I can give. Tonight I walk away." She stared at him, searching his face for hesitation. There was none. When he walked her to the door, Karen gripped his arm one last time. "You'll regret this." He shook his head.
No.
"They will." The door closed behind her, leaving him in silence once more. Michael looked out the window at the glowing skyline. For the first time in 15 years, the company wasn't his responsibility, and for the first time in his life, he felt free. New beginnings the following week. Michael woke up without an alarm clock for the first time in years. No board meetings. No emails demanding his signature at midnight. No endless pressure from parents who saw him as nothing more than a workhorse. The sun streamed into his apartment, golden and warm. He sat at the small kitchen table with a cup of coffee, staring at the steam curling upward. For years, mornings had been nothing but chaos. Calls before breakfast, crises before coffee. Now there was quiet, and in the quiet possibility, his phone buzzed. This time he didn't ignore it. "Michael, this is Andrew Collins.
Heard what happened.
Let's talk. I've got projects coming up that could use your touch." Collins was an old client, a man who respected results more than titles. Michael's pulse quickened. He called back immediately. "Andrew," he said, his voice steady. "Michael," Andrew replied warmly. "I'll get straight to it. Carter Enterprises isn't the same without you. Everyone in the industry knows it. I've got a logistics restructuring deal worth $300,000. I want you on it. Independent. No middlemen." Michael leaned back, his mind racing. Independent. For years, the idea had been a distant dream. Now it was within reach. "Send me the details," Michael said finally. "I'll take it." By the end of the day, he had 3 more calls, former partners, old contacts, even a competitor who respected his skill. The message was clear. The world valued Michael Carter more than his own family did. That night, he opened his laptop and typed the words at the top of a blank document. Carter Strategic Consulting, his own firm. His own rules. Karen called later, her voice urgent. "Michael, I just got out of a meeting. Daniel nearly blew a minor contract. He promised things we can't deliver." Michael chuckled softly. "Not your problem anymore, Karen. Not mine either." "Still," she said, lowering her voice, "I told you. They're going to regret this." Michael closed his laptop, a small smile tugging at his lips. Good. Regret is the only teacher they'll understand. For the first time in weeks, Michael slept soundly. And when he woke the next morning, Carter Strategic Consulting was no longer just an idea. It was the beginning of his new empire. The first cracks. Daniel stood at the head of the boardroom table, sleeves rolled up like he had just come from a battle. But the truth was, the only war he was fighting was with his own incompetence. Charts filled the digital screen behind him, numbers flashing red. Sales had slowed. A shipping client had backed out. 2 senior managers had quietly resigned. But Daniel wasn't worried, or at least he pretended not to be. He leaned on the table with a confident grin. Relax, people. These are growing pains. Every empire has them. We'll recover. Karen, seated midway down the table, crossed her arms. Recover? Daniel, we've lost 3 mid-sized contracts in 2 weeks. That's not growing pains, that's hemorrhaging. Daniel waved her off. Michael always worried too much, and you're doing the same. Clients don't like desperation. They like confidence. Watch. I'll charm the next ones back in. Charm doesn't deliver shipments on time, Karen snapped. Charm doesn't negotiate terms that actually stick. His smirk faltered for a moment, but then his parents chimed in. Elaine smiled warmly, as though Daniel were still a boy bringing home a good report card. Daniel is right. He has the spirit this company needs. Not everything can be measured in contracts and numbers. Karen nearly choked. We're a logistics company. Contracts and numbers are literally the only things that matter. Robert cut her off sharply. Enough. Your loyalty is in question, Karen. You either stand with our CEO or you step aside. Karen swallowed her fury. She wasn't ready to walk away, not yet. She wanted to stay long enough to watch the cracks widen. And they were widening. In the warehouse, employees whispered about Daniel's temper. He snapped at supervisors, made promises he couldn't explain, and ignored safety protocols Michael had put in place. Trucks were delayed. Deliveries missed. Clients called, angry and impatient. Meanwhile, Michael sat in a small rented office on the other side of the city, reviewing spreadsheets for his first independent contract. He was calm, methodical, precise, the very qualities his family had dismissed. When his phone buzzed, he answered to hear a familiar voice. Mr. Fletcher, the senior board member. Michael, Fletcher said quietly, I shouldn't be calling you. But I need you to know, Daniel's already driving us into the ground. The government contract you worked on? It's in jeopardy. He's pushing too hard, making promises no one can keep. Michael leaned back, his expression unreadable. Then you'd better prepare for impact. Because Daniel doesn't know how to land a plane. Fletcher sighed. If only you were still here. I was there, Michael said softly. And they threw me out. When he hung up, he closed his laptop and stared out the window. The cracks in Carter Enterprises were becoming fractures. And Michael knew, sooner or later, the whole structure would collapse. The big contract. The morning sunlight poured into the conference room of the Illinois State Procurement Office, where a deal that could redefine Carter Enterprises was on the line. The $600,000 government logistics contract, months in the making, sat on the table, waiting to be finalized. This deal had been Michael's masterpiece. He'd spent months carefully negotiating terms, learning the officials' needs, earning their trust. Every dotted I and crossed T bore his fingerprints. Now, Daniel was here to finish it. He walked in with his designer briefcase, his parents at his side, his smile wide enough to blind. He shook hands with the state officials like they were old friends, though he barely knew their names. Gentlemen, Daniel said, taking a seat at the head of the table. Thank you for waiting. I'm here to show you why Carter Enterprises is the future of logistics in this state. The officials exchanged glances. One of them, Director Henry Wallace, adjusted his glasses. Mr. Carter, your brother had already outlined a strong plan. We were close to finalizing. What changes are you bringing to the table? Daniel flashed a grin. Oh, Michael's work was fine. But it was cautious. Conservative. I believe in thinking bigger. Faster deliveries, wider coverage, guaranteed timelines. Wallace frowned. Guaranteed timelines? Your infrastructure isn't currently equipped for that scale. How will you manage? Daniel leaned back, spreading his hands. Where there's a will, there's a way. Trust me. I make things happen. The officials didn't look convinced. Elaine jumped in quickly. What my son means is, Carter Enterprises is committed to innovation. With Daniel as CEO, we're bringing new energy, bold strategies. But Wallace held up a hand. With respect, Mrs. Carter, Bold strategies don't matter if promises can't be kept. This contract requires precision. Your son Michael understood that. He provided details, data, projections. What you're offering me now sounds like, he paused, searching for the word, ambition without foundation. Daniel's smile faltered, just for a moment. He covered it with a chuckle. Ambition drives results, Mr. Wallace. Give me the deal, and I'll show you. But when the meeting ended 2 hours later, no signatures had been made. No contract sealed. The officials left unconvinced, their polite smiles masking frustration. As they walked out, Robert whispered harshly to Daniel, "You were supposed to close this, not scare them off." Daniel's jaw tightened. "Relax. They'll call back. They always do." But deep down, even Daniel felt the first chill of doubt. Because for the first time in his charmed life, charm wasn't enough. And across town, in his modest office, Michael received an email from a government contact he knew well. "Michael, things are falling apart without you. We'd like to discuss options. Are you available to meet?" Michael stared at the screen, a slow smile forming. The contract was slipping. And this time, it wasn't Daniel's to lose. It was Michael's to win. Missteps and arrogance. 2 days later, Daniel strode into the state offices again, determined to seal the deal. He had prepared no new documents, no revised projections, just the same cocky smile and a promise that his vision would carry the contract over the finish line. The officials weren't impressed. Director Wallace folded his hands across the table. "Mr. Carter, we've reviewed your proposal. It lacks the details your brother provided. You're offering guarantees without explaining the logistics. Can you provide a written plan for execution?" Daniel chuckled, waving his hand as if brushing away dust. "Details slow things down. What matters is momentum. I'll make sure deliveries run smoother than ever. Just trust me." "Trust," Wallace said coolly, "is earned through competence, not charisma." Daniel's smile faltered for a moment, then sharpened into arrogance. "Look, gentlemen, with respect, you're overthinking this. Carter Enterprises is the biggest name in logistics in this state. You'd be lucky to have us handle your freight." The words dropped like stones. Silence filled the room. One of the junior officials scribbled something in his notes, his jaw tight. Wallace leaned forward, voice cold. "Careful, Mr. Carter. This contract isn't a favor, it's an agreement of accountability. Your brother understood that. You, however, seem to think this is about ego." Daniel's ears burned. He plastered a smile back on his face. "Not ego, confidence. You'll see. I'll deliver beyond expectations." But when the meeting ended, the officials left without shaking his hand. Back at Carter Enterprises, the fallout spread quickly. Employees whispered that Daniel had insulted the procurement team. One supervisor muttered in the break room, "Michael built that bridge. Daniel just set it on fire." Karen stormed into Daniel's office. She slammed a folder onto his desk. "Do you even hear yourself? You just told government officials they'd be lucky to have us. Do you have any idea how reckless that sounds?" Daniel leaned back, smirking. "Relax, Karen. They'll cave. They need us more than we need them." Karen's voice rose. "No, Daniel, they don't. They have options. Competitors. And if they don't trust you, they'll walk away." Daniel's smirk hardened into a glare. "You think you know better than me? Maybe you should remember who the CEO is." Karen shot him a look of pure contempt. "I remember. And I also remember who should have been CEO." She slammed the door behind her, leaving Daniel fuming. That night, in his apartment, Daniel poured himself a drink and stared out over the glittering skyline. For the first time, unease gnawed at him. But he pushed it down, muttering to himself, "They'll sign. They have to." Across town, Michael sat in a quiet restaurant with Director Wallace. The older man leaned across the table, speaking in a low, deliberate voice. "Michael, I'll be blunt. Without you, Carter Enterprises is a mess. But if you were to handle this contract independently..." Michael listened, silent but attentive, as the opportunity unfolded before him. Daniel's arrogance had opened the door. And Michael, calm and steady, was ready to walk through it. The competitor's offer. The next morning, Michael sat in his modest office when his phone buzzed. The caller ID made him pause. Northline Logistics, one of Carter Enterprises' oldest competitors. He answered cautiously. Michael Carter. A confident voice came through. Mr. Carter, this is Evelyn Brooks, COO of Northline. Word travels fast in our industry. We hear Carter Enterprises is fumbling their government deal. Michael's tone stayed neutral. That's not my problem anymore. Evelyn chuckled. Maybe not. But it could be your opportunity. We'd like you to consult for us on the same contract. We know you built the foundation. You know the players. With your guidance, Northline could secure it. Michael leaned back in his chair, heart pounding. Helping Northline meant going head-to-head with his family. It meant becoming the very thing his parents feared, a rival. But then he remembered the boardroom, his parents' proud smiles for Daniel, the sting of being called reliable, but replaceable. His jaw tightened. Send me the proposal. By the afternoon, the documents were on his desk. For the first time in years, Michael felt alive, not as a son fighting for approval, but as a man building his own destiny. The collapse. At Carter Enterprises, panic spread like wildfire. The state procurement office sent a polite but devastating email. We are suspending negotiations due to lack of confidence in Carter Enterprises' ability to meet contractual obligations. The $600,000 deal was gone. Daniel stormed into the boardroom, tossing the printed email onto the table. This is ridiculous. They're bluffing. They'll come back. Karen's voice was sharp as a blade. No, Daniel. They won't. You lost them. You had one job, close the deal Michael built, and you blew it. Robert's face darkened. Daniel, explain yourself. How could you lose something your brother had practically secured? Daniel snapped. Stop comparing me to him. I'm the CEO now, not Michael. But the board members whispered among themselves, their faith eroding by the minute. That evening, headlines rippled through the industry. Northline partners with Michael Carter for state logistics deal. Daniel stared at the news in disbelief, his drink slipping from his hand. The contract wasn't just lost, it was taken by Michael. And in that moment, Daniel finally understood. Michael wasn't coming back to save him. The family panic. The Carter household felt colder than ever. Elaine sat at the dining table, staring at the news article on her tablet, her hands trembling. We've lost the contract, she whispered. And Michael, he's with Northline. Robert paced the room, red-faced. This is catastrophic. Investors are pulling back. The board is questioning our leadership. All because Daniel couldn't hold a deal together. Daniel slammed his fist on the table. Don't put this all on me. You made me CEO. You said I was ready. Elaine's voice cracked. We thought Michael would stay by your side. We thought. You thought wrong, Daniel snapped. He walked away. Robert stopped pacing, his voice low and bitter.
No.
We pushed him away. Silence fell over the room. For the first time, the parents saw the truth. Their choice had cost them not just a contract, but the loyalty of the son who had carried the company for years. Elaine whispered, tears in her eyes. What have we done? The call. Late that night, Michael sat in his office, reviewing Northline's draft contract. His phone buzzed. The caller ID froze him, Mother. He let it ring once, twice, 3 times, then answered. Michael. Elaine's voice trembled. Please, we need you back. The company is falling apart without you. Michael's jaw tightened. You made your choice. Daniel wasn't ready. We see that now. We were wrong. Please, son, just come home. Help us fix this. Michael's voice was calm, but every word carried steel. Home? You made sure I had no home there. You wanted charisma, not competence. Now you have it. Live with it. Michael, please. He cut her off. I built that company. You destroyed it. Don't call me again. And with that, he ended the call. For a long moment, he sat in silence, staring at his reflection in the dark window. His chest ached, but not with regret. It ached with release. The boy who had once lived for his parents' approval was gone, The man who lived for himself had taken his place. The new empire. 2 weeks later, Northline Logistics, now with Michael as senior strategist, signed the $600,000 state contract. The signing ceremony was covered by local media, and Michael's calm, confident face filled the headlines. Northline secures historic deal, thanks to Michael Carter. Back at Carter Enterprises, the building felt like a tomb. Employees whispered about jumping ship. Investors called daily, furious about the collapse. The board demanded accountability. Daniel tried to bluff his way through a meeting. "We just need another big client. I'll get it." But one director cut him off.
No, Daniel.
"Clients don't trust us anymore. They trust Michael. Without him, we're finished." The words struck like knives. Daniel had the title, but nothing else. Meanwhile, Michael sat in Northline's glass-walled office, looking out at the city skyline. He didn't just have a new job. He had influence, leverage, and power. For the first time, Carter Enterprises wasn't towering over him. It was beneath him.
And he intended to keep it that way.
The reckoning. Carter Enterprises' decline accelerated. Vendors demanded payments up front. 2 smaller contracts were canceled. By month's end, the company reported its worst quarter in 15 years. At home, Elaine and Robert fought daily. "You put Daniel in charge," Elaine snapped one evening. "And you agreed," Robert shot back. "You told me Michael would always support us. You were blind." Daniel sat in the corner, drinking heavily. His once proud posture was gone, his face sunken. Finally, one desperate night, Robert picked up the phone and dialed Michael. When the call connected, his voice was hoarse, almost pleading. "Michael, it's your father. I know we failed you. I know we chose wrong. But please help us. Don't let Carter Enterprises die." Michael sat in silence, the weight of years pressing on his chest. Then he answered, voice cold and precise. "You taught me something, Father, that titles matter more than people. That trust can be broken in a single decision. You made Daniel CEO, not me. Now live with your CEO." Robert's voice cracked. "Son, please." Michael's reply was final. "No. You lost me when you made your choice. And I won't save you this time." He ended the call, leaving Robert staring at the dead line, broken. Revenge had been delivered, not with fire or fury, but with silence. The walk into tomorrow. Months later, Carter Enterprises filed for restructuring. Rumors swirled that Daniel would be forced out as CEO. Investors whispered Michael's name with respect, no longer as the other Carter, but as the real leader of the industry. One evening, Michael stood on a pier overlooking the city lights. Evelyn Brooks joined him, smiling. "You know, without you, Northline wouldn't have risen this fast. You didn't just win a contract. You dismantled Carter Enterprises from the inside out." Michael gave a faint smile, his eyes distant. "I didn't destroy them. They destroyed themselves. I just stepped out of the way." But deep inside, he knew the truth. This was more than stepping aside. It was justice. Revenge, not by shouting, not by fighting, but by thriving where they thought he couldn't. He slipped his hands into his pockets and walked forward, the night air cool on his face. For the first time, he wasn't chasing approval. He wasn't carrying a family's weight. He was free. And the empire he built now was his own.